What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for watching another NGM Daily video. This week, we're going to talk about something a little bit different here. We're going to talk about the MCU. We're going to talk about why Antman and the Wasp Quantumania won't be as great as you think. And if I'm going to get hate about this, or we get any hate, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad movie. I'm not saying it's going to be even a good movie. I haven't seen it. It comes out in a couple of days. I'm watching it on Saturday. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch it Thursday night midnight showings. I couldn't get tickets, so that's where I'm at. But please don't spoil the movie. But let's talk a little bit about the MCU and why I think this movie won't be as great as you think. Let's start by number one. Overhyped. I think people are hyping up this movie a lot. In fact, this is a trend with the last several MCU movies that have featured multiple characters, right? So, Multiverse of Madness got really overhyped. No Way Home. To me, No Way Home lived up to the hype, but some people were expecting a little bit more or something else. Even Endgame, going back as far as Endgame. Again, to me, Endgame lived up and is my favorite Avengers movie. I get the arguments for Infinity War. Both are really good and solid, but they feel like a back-to-back feature. But honestly, I think it's just overhyped. People are going around being like, what if Tom Cruise is Tony Stark or Emily Blunt is Black Widow? People who could have been the Avengers, and they show up as a multiverse counterpart, or variant, I should say. We learned a lot about variants thanks to the Loki show, and the Multiverse of Madness. So it's kind of both TV and movie have collided, and kind of hopefully everyone who's watching the MCU kind of knows about variants in the multiverse already. But yeah, I think people are getting into their head. They're like, yeah, the movie's gonna open with Kang killing like alternate Avengers, and it'll be crazy. We're gonna see people who we never thought we would see, or maybe we'll see the X-Men, we'll see Logan or something. And it's like, guys, let's calm down. All right, we thought the same thing about Multiverse of Madness. Heck, even when WandaVision came out, people were like, oh man, Reed Richards is totally showing up as that person in the government that Spectrum had mentioned or something, or Monica Rambeau had mentioned or something. It was going to help them out, and people were also expecting Doctor Strange to show up because of all the stuff happening. I get why he didn't show up, and I get that it was maybe planned for him to show up, but they didn't want to take away from Wanda's story. So that's fine. I thought you can argue that Wanda's story from WandaVision to Multiverse of Madness is a little interesting, but I'm not going to go into it too much. But yeah, I just think it's overhyped in people's mind. I think number two is really just thinking about how your expectations can almost never be met by reality. So let's just take a step back and think about the expectations you might have had from Multiverse of Madness, No Way Home, even Endgame. Some people were expecting the Netflix series to show up in Endgame. Some people were expecting the X-Men to show up. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to happen in this movie either. If I'm wrong, awesome. Expectations are blown out of the water, right? But I've definitely felt this way watching the MCU sometimes, where like watching She-Hulk or watching WandaVision, you start to think like, oh, it's Mephisto in WandaVision, and She-Hulk, you're thinking like, oh man, like, are we gonna see something, with Hulk in outer space? But clearly it's setting up something else for him later, and so like, I think it's just taking a step back and thinking about like, how can you recenter before watching something in the universe, in the MCU, where you're just enjoying it, like enjoy it for what it is, and just be able to be like, yeah, I didn't get Mephisto, I didn't get everything I wanted, but I still enjoyed the story or what's happening or the setup. That's fine. I feel like what helps me a lot is just trying to stay away from a lot of the like, ironically, because I'm creating content on this too, staying away from social media, or maybe some people who are overhyping the movie. I get it. It's really easy to buy into that. You wanna believe that there's gonna be another movie with Logan. With Hugh Jackman as Logan or Wolverine. Well, there is Deadpool, the Deadpool sequel, Deadpool 3, right? I think it's getting made by the MCU or in the Marvel universe. So we'll see, but I think it's just making sure you're able to like have a healthy relationship with these movies and this universe. I just hope that it doesn't totally disappoint you and turn you into like hate and anger. I have this conversation with a lot of my friends who sometimes get disappointed. I'm like, well, like just think about budgets and filming and different actors and actresses' schedules and like even the CGI work. There's a lot that needs to go into it, and like how do you keep things under wraps? I do think that It's harder to keep things a secret on Marvel things than it's been for Star Wars. I don't know why. I'm assuming because the Star Wars team is just very good at keeping things like for Mandalorian Season 2 spoilers, but when Luke Skywalker shows up in Mandalorian Season 2, I lost my mind. Expectations were surpassed by reality, which is crazy, and that can only happen by kind of the secrets. So I just think this Marvel's too big. There's just too many things going on. Kevin Feige cannot just keep everyone under his Infinity Gauntlet. And finally, I think we have to think about the phase we're in, right? So let's talk about how it's setting up Kang the Conqueror as kind of the next big bad to lead into the next two Avengers movies in phase 6, which is like in 2025 or 2026 or something like that. I think there's one 2025 and one 2026. But yeah, it's really setting up like Kang the Conqueror is one of the next Avengers movie, and then Secret Wars is after. Secret Wars, of course, is a big multiversal war. I assume that's the version they're going with. But, you know, Kang kind of appeared in Loki, which was a TV show. And if we think about phase 4 to 6 as phase 1 to 3, if phase 4 is kind of the setup and we just ended the setup phase like phase 1 was back in the day, and phase 2, you know, Age of Ultron was the Avengers movie there, and there's a lot of like interconnecting pieces. We're in phase 5, which is essentially the equivalent to that, where it's like we're setting up things, we're meeting new heroes, we're kind of like propelling things forward. Maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of those movies, I'm like, yeah, they were fun and they were good. I liked Winter Soldier, one of my favorite movies from the whole universe. But like Iron Man 3, all right, it was okay. You know, phase 2, I think also had Dark World, Thor: The Dark World, which, you know, I liked Loki in that, but that's about it. So we'll see how this goes. I would hope that's a little bit more consistent. But I do think like the bangers that people are expecting aren't going to happen until phase 6. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. But yeah, these are some of the, you know, probably 3 reasons why I think it's not going to be as good as everyone thinks it is. Even Wakanda Forever, people had so many different expectations on who would be the Black Panther, how Killmonger might come back from the dead, or maybe there's a variant of him. Man, people are willing to jump through so many hoops and mental gymnastics just to try and make what they really want to happen. But I think it's like we kind of have to be okay with the direction things are going. I'm not saying you can't criticize it or give feedback, because there's definitely things you can give feedback on. Like I thought Wakanda Forever was a little long, but it felt like it kind of gave you the room to breathe versus you know, other movies sometimes jump from scene to scene. Let's not talk about Rise of Skywalker, but that's one of them I can think of. That's like, whoa, everything's just happening really fast. But yeah, I really just think like I hope that people and the fans are able to have a healthier relationship with the fandoms they interact with, especially the MCU. Something as it gets more and more popular and more mainstream, I just keep seeing people, you know, disappointed or upset. But it's like, to me, this is crazy. I never could imagine we'd get this far with comic book movies or superhero movies. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. Let me know if you think I'm completely wrong. Let me know why you think it's going to be the best movie ever, or why it won't. You know, personally, I like Ant-Man. I think one of my favorite heroes in the MCU. He's just funny, the everyday man. He's a little bit like Spider-Man in that sense, where he's just like trying to live his life, trying to be a dad. Whereas, you know, Spider-Man's just trying to be a kid. But they don't really get to do what they want to do. They kind of get pulled into much bigger things. And yeah, I feel like this Antman and the Wasp Quantumania is going to be kind of like Scott Lang's No Way Home in a sense. Not with like, you know, obviously other Ant-Man variants. I don't expect that. I don't even know who would play them. But just in the sense of like the character and where he's going to go. But yeah, sorry this one was a little bit more rambly, but I hope you all enjoy the new movie. Looking forward to seeing it, and let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks.